Today we're going to build real, useful Spanish for talking about feelings, reactions, and relationships. Not textbook robot Spanish, real human Spanish. The kind you use when you want to say, I'm tired, she got annoyed, we get along well, that made me happy, or his comment surprised me. This is personal language, and that's good news, because personal language sticks. Here's the big idea for today. In Spanish, when people talk about emotions and reactions, they very often use little words like me, te, le, nos. These are tiny but powerful. Think of them as emotional arrows. The feeling or action points towards someone. Me hace feliz, it makes me happy. Le molesta, it bothers him or her. Nos llevamos bien, we get along well. Once you start hearing these little pieces, Spanish becomes much more alive. Let's begin with one of the most useful patterns, sentirse, to feel. In everyday Spanish, you'll hear me siento, te sientes, se siente, nos sentimos. For example, me siento cansado means I feel tired. Me siento bien means I feel good. Me siento raro means I feel strange. A nice memory trick. Sentir is feel, and sentirse is feel oneself, so it often works like how someone feels inside. How do you say, I feel calm today, in Spanish? Hoy me siento tranquilo. Hoy me siento tranquilo. If you're a woman, you'd usually say tranquila. Notice that hoy, today, can move around a bit, but hoy me siento tranquilo sounds very natural. Let's add a few useful feeling words. Feliz means happy. Triste means sad. Cansado, tired. Preocupado, worried. Contento, pleased. Solo, lonely or alone, depending on context. And agobiado is a great B1 word. Overwhelmed. Very useful, unfortunately. If work is too much, you can say, me siento agobiado. Now, Spanish also loves another pattern for emotional change. Ponerse. This often means to become, especially for temporary emotional or physical states. So if someone changes and suddenly becomes nervous, serious, angry, or happy, Spanish often uses ponerse. Se pone nerviosa, she gets nervous. Me puse triste, I got sad. Se puso rojo, he turned red. It's like an emotional costume change. How do you say she gets nervous before meetings in Spanish? Se pone nerviosa antes de las reuniones. Se pone nerviosa antes de las reuniones. Antes de means before. Reuniones means meetings. And yes, in natural Spanish we often drop she because se pone already tells the story. Here's a helpful shortcut. If you're talking about how someone feels in general right now, use sentirse. Me siento tranquilo. If you're talking about a change, use ponerse. Me pongo nervioso cuando hablo en público. I get nervous when I speak in public. Feel versus become. That contrast will help you a lot. And speaking of reactions, another very common structure is with verbs like molestar, sorprender, preocupar, alegrar, aburrir. These often work differently from English. Instead of saying, I annoy this, Spanish says this annoys me, so the thing causes the reaction, and the person receives it. For example, me molesta el ruido, noise bothers me. Me preocupa tu silencio, your silence worries me. Me alegra verte, seeing you makes me happy. Me aburre esa película, that movie bores me. A simple memory aid. In these sentences, start with the person affected. Me, te, le, nos. Then add the verb. Me preocupa, le molesta, nos alegra. How do you say, that makes me happy, in Spanish? Eso me hace feliz. Eso me hace feliz. Beautifully useful. Eso me hace feliz. You can also swap eso for things like tu mensaje, your message, or verte, seeing you. Verte me hace feliz. Seeing you makes me happy. Quick little side note. Feliz doesn't change for masculine or feminine. You say estoy feliz, está feliz, me hace feliz. Nice and easy. Spanish occasionally gives you a gift, and this is one of them. Now let's move into relationships. If you want to talk about how people relate to each other, one superstar phrase is llevarse bien or llevarse mal. Llevarse bien means to get along well. Llevarse mal means to get along badly or not get along. It's extremely common. How do you say we get along very well in Spanish? Nos llevamos muy bien. Nos llevamos muy bien. That nos is important. We carry ourselves well together, in a sense. Nos llevamos muy bien. If you want to say I get along well with my sister, that's me llevo muy bien con mi hermana. And there's a nice little relationship bundle you can remember together. Confiar en, to trust. Contar con, to count on. Apoyar, to support. Confío en ti, I trust you. Cuento contigo, I'm counting on you. Me apoya mucho, he or she supports me a lot. These are emotionally rich phrases, and they come up all the time in real conversations. How do you say, I trust you, in Spanish? Confío en ti. Confío en ti. Notice it's confiar en someone, not just confiar someone. That little N matters. Let's talk about reactions in the past for a moment, because emotions often come after something happens. Maybe someone said something, sent a message, forgot your birthday, or brought you coffee, which is the path to peace in many cultures. Spanish often uses the simple past here. How do you say, I was surprised by your message, in Spanish? Me sorprendió tu mensaje. Me sorprendió tu mensaje. Literally, your message surprised me. This is a perfect example of the Spanish pattern we mentioned. The message is doing the surprising. Me receives it. You can build many sentences like this. Me molestó su tono. His tone annoyed me. Me preocupó la noticia. The news worried me. Me encantó la cena. I loved the dinner. Me dio pena. It made me feel sad or sorry. That last one, me dio pena, is very common and very human. How do you say your comment bothered me in Spanish? Me molestó tu comentario. Me molestó tu comentario. Good. And if you want something softer, instead of sounding too direct, you could say, me hizo sentir mal. It made me feel bad. Softer, but still clear. Now let's make this more conversational. Imagine a friend asks, ¿Cómo te sientes? How do you feel? You might answer, me siento un poco cansado, pero contento. I feel a little tired but happy. Or, me siento mejor hoy. I feel better today. Or, últimamente me siento distante. Lately I feel distant. That word, últimamente, lately, is a very useful conversation word. How do you say, lately I feel a little distant, in Spanish? Últimamente me siento un poco distante. Últimamente me siento un poco distante. Distante is a useful word in relationships. It can mean emotionally distant, not just physically far. Here's another common pattern. Caer bien or caer mal. If someone me cae bien, I like them, or they seem nice to me. If alguien me cae mal, I don't like them, or they rub me the wrong way. Very common in spoken Spanish. For example, tu amiga me cae muy bien. I really like your friend. At work, el jefe me cae mal is definitely useful language, though maybe not best said near the boss. How do you say your brother seems nice to me in Spanish? Tu hermano me cae bien. Tu hermano me cae bien. Literally, it's more like, your brother falls well to me, which sounds odd in English. But just remember it as a natural Spanish way to say, I like someone's vibe. Let's pause for a few common mistakes learners make. One mistake is saying estoy nervioso and me pongo nervioso, as if they always mean the same thing. They're related, but not identical. Estoy nervioso means I am nervous right now. Me pongo nervioso means I get nervous, maybe in certain situations. Another mistake is forgetting the little pronoun in reaction verbs. Saying sorprendió tu mensaje is incomplete in normal conversation if you mean surprised me. You need me sorprendió tu mensaje. Another common issue is mixing up bien and bueno in relationship phrases. We say nos llevamos bien, not nos llevamos buenos. Bien describes how the relationship goes. Now, let's tie everything together with a mini story. First, I'll tell it all in Spanish. Just listen and see what you catch. Últimamente me siento un poco cansado por el trabajo. A veces me pongo de mal humor cuando tengo demasiadas reuniones. Por suerte, me llevo muy bien con una compañera que siempre me escucha. Ayer me sorprendió con un café y eso me hizo muy feliz. Después de hablar con ella, me sentí más tranquilo y con más energía. Me di cuenta de que el apoyo de otra persona puede cambiarte el día. Now let's go through it line by line. Últimamente me siento un poco cansado por el trabajo. Lately I've been feeling a little tired because of work. A veces me pongo de mal humor cuando tengo demasiadas reuniones. Sometimes I get into a bad mood when I have too many meetings. Por suerte, me llevo muy bien con una compañera que siempre me escucha. Luckily, I get along very well with a coworker who always listens to me. Ayer me sorprendió con un café y eso me hizo muy feliz. Yesterday, she surprised me with a coffee, and that made me very happy. Después de hablar con ella, me sentí más tranquilo y con más energía. After talking with her, I felt calmer and more energetic. Me di cuenta de que el apoyo de otra persona puede cambiarte el día. I realized that another person's support can change your day. That story gives you a whole emotional toolkit. Me siento, me pongo, me llevo bien, me sorprendió, me hizo feliz, me sentí. That's real Spanish for real life. Let's do a few more quick ones, naturally like little stepping stones. How do you say, I'm worried about you? Estoy preocupado por ti. Estoy preocupado por ti. You can also hear me, preocupo por ti. I worry about you. But estoy preocupado por ti is often the more direct emotional state. How do you say, seeing you again makes me happy in Spanish? Volver a verte me hace feliz. Volver a verte me hace feliz. That's a lovely phrase. Very warm, very natural. How do you say, we don't get along very well lately in Spanish? Últimamente no nos llevamos muy bien. Últimamente no nos llevamos muy bien. Notice how natural that sounds. Honest, but not overly dramatic. Before we finish, here's a practical memory map. For inner state, think sentirse. Me siento triste. Me siento bien. For emotional change, think ponerse. Me pongo nervioso. Se pone triste. For reactions caused by something, think me, te, le plus the verb. Me sorprendió. Me preocupa. Le molesta. For relationships, think llevarse bien or mal. Confiar en and caer bien or mal. If you remember those 4 boxes, you'll be able to express a lot. And one last little trick. When you learn feeling words, don't memorize them alone. Memorize them in chunks. Me siento cansado. Se pone nerviosa. Me hace feliz. Nos llevamos bien. Chunks are easier to pull out in real conversation than single dictionary words. So today, you built Spanish for emotions, reactions, and relationships. You practiced how to say how you feel, how feelings change, how events affect you, and how people connect. That is powerful language because it helps you talk like a person, not a phrasebook. Keep repeating the core patterns out loud. Me siento, me pongo, me hace, me sorprendió, nos llevamos. If you can say those comfortably, You can already say a lot more than you think. You're doing great. Emotional Spanish can feel slippery at first, but the patterns repeat again and again, and you're already hearing them. Keep going. Keep noticing them in songs, shows, and conversations, and soon they'll start to feel natural. Y sí, eso te tiene que hacer feliz. And yes, that should make you happy.